So in this tutorial, we're going to have a look at how we can edit the theme of feathers. I have open a framework project using Flex, Feathers, and Starling. This is a folder structure of what was covered in the week before for the framework setup. It's an exact replica where I have the images folder, which contains the Metalworks mobile theme, the final sprite sheet in which the feathers framework is based around in terms of its design, and an XML sheet that defines the locations of each of those components on the sprite sheet. So how do we go about editing the designs? At the moment, the project is currently exporting out with a single button in the middle of the screen. What we're going to do is customize the design of this button. We can click it and we can see, of course, it has a brown background for the pop-up box, as well as a brown background for the actual stage. So we're going to have a look at where we can change some of that information as well. So in order to customize the theme for feathers, we need to open up the theme source file, which is located here. I'm going to launch Metalworks mobile theme, and as you can see, it's made up and contains all the different components that make up feathers theme. So the first thing we're going to do is ensure that whenever we edit these themes, these designs in front of us, we don't change any of the dimensions. It's important that doesn't happen. So for example, if we have a look at the button theme, first I'm going to unlock all the layers and select the default style for the button, the upstate, so I can see that it's the upstate by looking at the instance name at the top right. If I double click on it, I can get access to the theme itself of the actual design of the button. Now you'll notice that it's made up of 3 components: a border, a glow, and a background. So I'm just going to show each of those. That's the border, that's the glow, and that's the background. So the background is the lowest layer, which contains the visual design of the orange color, and that's what we're going to edit to begin with. So I'm going to unlock the background. I'm going to select the color orange, so I'm going to zoom in so I can get access to this design a bit closer. Select the orange, and I can see it's got the color palette fill color of this gradient orange. I'm going to go to the color palette, so if it's not visible here, it's located down here on the color palette. I can see that this is made up of 2 shades of orange. So what I'm going to do is copy down a new color for this shade of orange. So I'm going to double click it, and for the sake of just demonstration here, I'm going to choose this sort of shade of blue as the starting point, and the ending point a lighter shade of blue. So we have this sort of gradient blue taking place instead. So it's important to note the hex values for these shades of blues. I'm going to copy this, and in my main file of my source code, I'm going to, at the top of where my constructor is, I'm going to take note of some of these details. So let's add some block comments. I'm going to call it button style. So the dark blue is not that color, that's actually the light blue. Okay, found the hash sign, and the dark blue, I need to go and take a note of that color, so go back to my Metalworks, select the first color, and I can see that's 3366F. So let's copy that and set that to be dark blue. Yeah, so you can see they're quite similar colors, Obviously there's a gradient change in there. So finally, now that we've set the color of this design, what we'd end up doing is going back to scene 1 and go through each of the color changes as appropriate. So in this case here, we have a dark blue at the top and a light blue at the bottom. So if I zoom into here, unlock the background layer, select the background, and set the top color to be that light blue, and that bottom color to be the dark blue. Okay, so if we go back, we can see that, oops, it's meant to be the other way around. So set that to be there, and this one to be there. There we are. So if I save that, I've now saved the changes for how the up state of the button looks like and what the down state of the button looks like. And the following next state is the disable state, so typically that's left as is. So taking into account all the different designs in front of us here, we'd go through all of the different shades of orange in this case and change them so that they match the color scheme that we've decided on, in this case these two blues. After you have gone through all the assets and recolored them appropriate colors, you need to make sure and check in the library that all the assets are the colors that you expect them to be. So as I go down this list, you'll sort of see a whole range of different new colored styles from the previous brown to the now blue. Just make sure that all of them are the appropriate set of colors. I picked up on a couple of other colors. There's an outline which I set to be a solid blue color, and then there was a dark blue background which is the following color, 000033. So it's quite good just to note down these different style colors, as that's what essentially makes up the full design of this theme. The last area which I can change is this textured background. So this is a tiled stripe background which can be modified as well. So I'm going to go into this, unlock the skin layer, go into that and unlock the background, and set the background color to be the dark blue, and the stripes themselves, I'm going to hide that mask, unlock the stripes, select the stripe keyframe so it selects all of them, and set them to be the lighter blue. So essentially I've got a sort of new dark solid background as blue rather than the brown. I just need to modify that outline as well. So if I go to unlock the extrude content layer, hide the extrude guide, select that and set it to be the solid blue. Similarly, I've got another one here, so I'm going to go into the pop-up, unlock the skin, go inside the skin, unlock the background, set the background to be a lighter blue, so I'm going to set that to be this blue I had earlier. Lock the background, unlock the stripes, select all the stripes and set them to be the light blue colour. It's obviously quite bright, but let's just go with it. Finally, just set the extrude background colour to be not blue again. Okay, so what we have now is a completely modified theme for the Feathers Metalworks mobile theme. So now that you've recolored everything, what we need to do is export out all of the assets to a new sprite sheet. So to do that, what we need to do is select all the assets in the export folder. So click the first one and then scroll down to the bottom of the last asset and hold shift and click the last one. And that will select all the assets that are related to this sprite sheet. I'm going to right click on any one of these and generate sprite sheet. So this pop-up box will appear where you will find that there's a range of different options to choose from. So you don't have to worry about the left hand side, image dimensions, width, height. That's all automatically set. However, for the algorithm, you want to ensure that max direct is selected. The data format is using Starling, and the border padding from 0 should be 2 and 2. Once you've done that, make sure you browse to the correct folder, project, theme editing, assets, images, and select Metalworks Mobile. So if I click save, it will ask me would you like to overwrite. I'm going to hit replace. And then to now hit export. And what this will do, it will overwrite the existing theme and also generate a new XML file. So if I shift over to my assets to see what's in there, if I select my Metalworks Mobile, I can see that this is now themed as a bluish colour, and my XML file has been republished out. So now, having recolored the theme, I can go back to my Learning app. I don't need to make any changes because it's going to load in the newly generated sprite sheet with the colour blue. Press Control Enter. You'll notice that the button is now blue. If I click it, it's obviously got the down state of the colour changing. If I let go, I've got quite a contrast in design here for the colour of what this pop-up box should be. So I'll have to go back and edit that particular design. So notice that's quite a sharp, light bluish colour. I probably want it to be a nicer shade of blue, and this arrow should also be a nicer shade of blue. So I can go back into my Metalworks Mobile, find that specific colour, so I can see here it's most likely going to be the call out. Let's go back in and edit this call out. Double click that, zoom in, select the colour, go to my colours palette, select this to be a nicer shade of blue, so I think that will be fine. And let's also set this to also be a bit of a neater, nicer shade of blue. You can see that it's an instance, so it's changed them all. So if I save this out, I'm going to go back to my library. I have all the assets already selected. Right click, generate sprite sheet. And if you notice, all the settings have been remembered. So all I need to do is hit export. Click yes. And let's go back and test. As I click this, you can see now we've got the designed visual looking a little bit clearer. So that's how we've changed the color theme of feathers, and you can go ahead now and change this.